Hey guys, welcome back. Um, so a couple updates since last time I played. I have a subscriber, so thank you, Ray. Pretty cool. Talking to some of my students about this, and they seem some of you guys seem just as excited about it as I am. And so yeah. Anyway, on that note, um, if you guys have critiques, right, make them constructive. You know. But of course, I've never done any sort of video recording before. And so if you have ideas, things that I could be doing better, even if it's just like small, you know, overlay things, whatever, whatever it is, just let me know. I've said it once, I'll probably say it a bunch. I am not an expert when it comes to any of this stuff. So let me know. On that note, I did realize I messed up. Evaded the attack. I never caught a Pidgey, so I'm actually glad that my first encounter here is a Pidgey, so I can add it to the list. I'm still going to let it stand, simply because when I was watching and I went back, I traded a Pidgey for a Weedle. Weedle's not very good. Neither is Pidgey, in my opinion. But, critical hit. That's what you get for smack talking Pidgey, huh? And anyway, what I did as a response to that, if you look underneath my lock Pokemon, I have potential Pokemon. So what that means to me, it's just a visual that like, hey, I've caught these Pokemon. They're either in the mart or they're on my party for me to potentially use. And so as I'm doing the species clause and stuff like that, I know, hey, I caught this one or not. Alright, Ari, this is actually a shout out to Jaden Animations. Not that I think she'll ever watch my videos, but I got the idea for doing Nuzlocke from her. I attempted the Ruby Sapphire Nuzlocke video, which was just fantastic. If you haven't seen it, check it out. She does amazing animation work. I have no idea how to even begin with any of that. But also, that's kind of another person's niche. I have my own path that I'm trying to walk here. But yeah, that one. And ooh, is Oddish good? Oddish isn't good, right? Like Vileplume maybe, but Oddish. Okay, well he survived. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I also realized I never picked up a town map. And so I'm catching Oddish here simply because my knowledge of Fire Red Leaf Green tells me that this is a different route. I'm going to check that though. Call him Fauna. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And actually, now that I said it, let me go ahead and make good on what I said. Pidgey and Oddish. Oh, and I also need to set my timer. Is there a way I can get through here without having to fight people? No, there's not. Also, I want to apologize that episode 2 was significantly longer than the first one. I think, and you can leave comments, again, this could be a critique, you know, I think 22 to 25 minutes is kind of my sweet spot. That's where I want to be. I love Machop. So yeah, I think that's the goal, and so I'm going to try to keep it in there. Yeah, so if you're watching this, I want to thank you. This is episode 3, so I don't know where we're going to go from here. What I do know is it is Friday before the holiday break, and so if you're one of my students, happy holidays. whatever it is that you end up doing, be safe, be smart, have fun, get some rest and relaxation in. And I'll see you in like 3.5 weeks. We have a really long Christmas break. But yeah, I'm ready. Today's a weird. So Thursday and Friday at my school are half days, and I don't have a fourth period. So today it's fourth period and eighth period taking their finals. So I'm just kind of sitting here for almost 2 hours. Long tests. But yeah, sitting here for almost 2 hours waiting for my people to come in, my eighth period. So we're just chilling. Figured, you know what, why not get some recording in? I'm choosing to be irresponsible. I'm doing the exact thing I tell my students not to do, which is to procrastinate. I am in week 5 out of 5 for my master's class that I'm taking. And so all I have left is a paper, and it's due by Saturday. But I should be working on it. I should just get it over with. But that's life. I figured I need to do a little bit of recording. Seeing how I did the first 2 videos on Wednesday, didn't do anything yesterday, and he looks like a rock trainer. Let's cross our fingers and hope we don't lose anybody. On that note, couple reminders. So this is a Nuzlocke, right? So if a Pokemon faints, it's dead. You can only catch the first Pokemon each route. Species clause is active, meaning if I already caught something before, I don't have to catch it again. I can re-roll those encounters up to 10 times. That'll come in a play later. Like when we get to that spot, I'll probably have a rant about how much I hate Growlithe and how much Growlithe hates me. But yeah. So if you're watching this, here's a question I've been asking my students. As we get closer to the holidays, do you have any food? So like this is, and what I mean by like holiday food, you make it or your family makes it, grandparents, whoever, but they only seem to make it for Christmas or New Year's or whatever it is that you celebrate. Do you have something? And if so, what is it? Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I want you at the top. What is it? Just out of curiosity. Because I love having that conversation with my students because you get to hear some really interesting stuff. Do I know Twin Needle yet? I do. Beedrill, surprisingly good, actually. That's a bad match, but oh well. But yeah, so for me, Christmas is a number of things. My mom makes what she calls Christmas meatballs. To this day, I don't know what they are exactly. I mean, it is a meatball, but it's like a sweet sauce. And I don't normally like overly sweet stuff, but this is really good. And then it has whole cranberries in it. And so sometimes you get this like little of extra sweetness. Pretty good. And then she makes this cheese dip queso type thing. It's kind of sweet, kind of spicy. She seems to only make it for like special occasions. But yeah. And then I guess similar question, but for New Year's. Because a lot of people, and I found a surprising number of my students, they don't have anything that they eat. for New Year's, like nothing like, special out of the ordinary. Um, I was always raised that you're supposed to eat sauerkraut and pork on New Year's, and it was supposed to bring you good luck for the year, right? Um, and I always found it so weird. Oh, I found out later it's because my stepdad is German, and so sauerkraut is a German thing. Um, it still doesn't answer why, right? Because sauerkraut, when you think about it, that is rotten cabbage that you're buying from the grocery store. It's already rotten. Um, and then they would, you know, essentially boil it and boil it with pork, and that's what we eat for New Year's. Um, when asking that question, I've gotten some pretty interesting answers, and like I know black eyed peas, right? I'm not sure what culture does black eyed peas, but I'm in Texas, and that seems to be like the common thing down here. Um, I guess that. Um, sorry, I'm trying to. Is there a way to just check them? Stats. Oh, it doesn't even tell me where I caught it. Okay. Um, then I'm just gonna go with Pidgey, because I'm not sure. Bye, Fauna. It was nice knowing you. And then withdraw. I guess I'll bring fodder back. Anyway, yeah. So I've heard black eyed peas. Um, that one's fairly common. I've also heard cake. Um, there's a special cake that some of my students eat. Um, I'd never heard that one before this year. But yeah, I just find it interesting because that's one of those things that as you start to become more, let's say, culturally aware, like you start to interact with people outside of maybe your demographic, so to speak. He's gonna hit me with. Ooh, he's level capped. Demon. Uh-oh. We might be in trouble here. I had 4 Pokemon, right? No, I only have 3? Ooh. Okay, let's go demon. Let's do this. Um, anyway, the more you interact with people outside of your culture, the more you realize that everybody's weird, right? Um, like you would never think of, like growing up, never thought sauerkraut and pork was strange. And when you talk to students, they look at you like, why would you eat that? That sounds awful. Why would you do that to yourself? And you're just like, I don't know. It's just what we've always done, you know? Um, and it's really cool, or it's interesting when you think about it, because that's something that you have in common with everybody, right? Everybody's family has weird stuff that they teach their kids, and then you grow up thinking it's perfectly normal, so you teach your kids, and it's a cycle. Um, and there's some comfort that can be taken from that, maybe. And that's Dig. I remember that one. But it also raises a really interesting historical question, right? In a general sense, young people, kids especially, are really, really good at normalizing behavior. And what I mean by that is um, no matter what the situation is, they can adapt to it, and they can normalize it, right? And so whether that's an adaptation to survive because it's some crazy thing that's going on, um, but with that you can also easily warp kids, maybe young people. And my favorite example of that is the Vikings. The Viking era Hopefully you have an idea of who the Vikings were. But it was a really short-lived time, Viking terror and Viking reign, because that's a really non-sustainable life. All right, so you are species claused. Get out of here. We don't want you again. But yeah, so the Vikings, another group I really, really love learning about. Um, and one of the things that makes me so interested in them is how did they maintain their numbers, right? And so what they would do, they would kidnap people. In particular, they would kidnap women that they thought were attractive. Usually, oh, come on. Usually blonde-haired, blue-eyed girls, light of skin, complexion, which is why if you ever visit Scandinavian countries, almost all of them are blonde bombshells, right? They all look like they could be related to each other. It's because the Vikings were really, really good at genetic selection, at least in the sense that what they perceived as beautiful, that's what they grabbed up. The thing that I was interested in, less about the girls and more about the kids. Because when you think about the Viking lifestyle, it's highly unsustainable, right? Like they decided pretty much from the get-go, instead of farming and growing our own food, like why would we do that work when we can go and kill other people and take their stuff and survive that way? And so that's what they did. And if you're going to take people's stuff or make a habit out of taking people's stuff, you need to be able to replenish your soldiers because you're going to lose them. And so what they focused on was kidnapping kids. And so they would bring these kids, young boys, back to their Viking villages and whatnot. And they would assign them, like the child would be enslaved and they would be assigned to a house, and that child was now responsible for taking care of the home, cooking, cleaning, stuff like that. And then over time, the child starts to normalize what has happened to them and start to look to that family not as this is the person who enslaved me and killed my family, but like that's my family. And then once that psychological, today we call it Stockholm syndrome, once that takes effect, yes, please don't go to 25. Although I guess it doesn't matter. I'm probably going to raise king or use Doug Trio. So anyway, yeah. So they would Stockholm syndrome these kids. But what was really interesting, or another interesting part about Viking culture, is that being enslaved was not a permanent thing, right? And so, like, especially here in the United States, when we talk about, the institution of slavery, it's a really taboo subject, of course. But there were multiple different ways that slavery could take place, right? Like, it wasn't just the American system. That wasn't the only way it was ever done. And so Viking culture, if you proved yourself, you could be freed. And that's actually the only civilization in all of history where you could go from being a slave to becoming the chief of the village, right? Like the best of the best. Because the chief is simply the best warrior, right? And the way they define the best warrior, of course, there's the physical strength, but there's also cunning and strategy, and there was this whole give and take system. So, for instance, when they came back with their plunder, all their gold and whatnot, it all belonged to the chief, right? The chief could decide, you know what, I'm going to keep all of this; it's mine. That chief might not last long, right? what happened more likely than not, the chief divides the stuff, and he ensures loyalty of his warriors. So long as they keep, working hard, they're going to plunder, and they're all going to be wealthy and have the stuff that they want or need. And that's how you keep loyalty. And so for an enslaved person, this is really crucial, because it does create a system where you do not necessarily have to remain in your current status. And that's something that was drilled into the kids. And so after a couple generations of anything, right, like any sort of like belief system, within a few generations, that becomes institutionalized. And what I mean by that is no one really thinks to question it, right? Like, this is just how it is. This is how it's always been, kind of mentality. All right, so I've decided I'm going to catch Magikarp, fingers crossed, and I'm going to go for a Diglett. If I can get a Diglett, then the next gym is really easy. If I can't, I'm going to have to evolve Nidoking, which I'm not too upset about. I love Nidoking. Nidoking's in my top 6. Come on. Oh, you know what? I can do this. Alright, status effects make stuff easier to catch. I think that's still a thing in Gen 1. Oh, Magikarp, I promise to love you. I will not be like Team Rocket. I will not kick you and force you to evolve. I mean, I am going to force you to evolve, because nobody wants a Magikarp. But it'll be done out of love, not anger. And then you can help me with Blaine's gym. And I'll also let you rip Team Rocket a new one, out of vengeance. Oh, boy, oh boy. Do some double damage, maybe? Oh. But anyway, that's where we're at here. Really looking forward to Christmas break. I bought well, I didn't buy it. My wife bought it for me. But we got a 3D printer forever ago. I don't know. Random name. Doesn't mean anything, actually. But yeah, we bought a 3D printer a while ago, and I just haven't had the opportunity to play with it. I've been trying to print. I'm really big into D&D. In fact, our high school, we have a group. I can't remember if I did my my encounter to the north. We're gonna skip it. That's the big problem that I found with this, right? Like, I really thought, oh, it's gonna be a little weird to talk for 22, 25 minutes at a time, whatever. That part I'm actually not having too much of a struggle with. It's more because I'm talking, I can't remember, like, my brain can only focus on one thing at a time, right? And so yeah, I'm struggling with remembering, like, oh yeah, like, I caught this Pokemon here. No, I didn't. Why is Diglett so easy to catch and Magikarp gave me a hellish time? Anyway, ooh, I got one. Alright. Dig Dug. Where's my U? That is a super old-timey game. Like one of those like old arcade games. Pretty fun actually if you ever get a chance to play it. But yeah. Older than me. Don't even think for a second. Okay. I don't have a Spearow. Tackle. Oh, no. Ooh. Owie. What's the chance of him getting a critical twice in a row? Oh, pretty good. Thank God it didn't kill me, huh? Dragul should be fine. Man, that's 3 crits in a row. Because he's Mad Max. Alright, so anyway, that's all of our encounters for this area, so I think that's a pretty good stopping point. My timer's about to go off anyway. So, yeah, I look forward to y'all's comments, answering my questions. Again, I want to emphasize, if you have critiques, suggestions, things like that, put them in the comments, right? Or if you're one of my students, you can always come talk to me. Keep in mind the goal of this, right? So, like, I'm doing the Nuzlocke just because the Nuzlocke is cool. But this is background for my project that I want to do. So anyway, until next time, have a good day. Control.